Hi, y'all. We're just going to get started. I just shared in the chat. I'll share it again. Our agenda for today. So this will include not only what we go over, but any other resources that we have available. And if you're just joining, we'll be recording this session. So feel free to take as much notes as you like, but also know that we'll be uploading this to YouTube on MuckRock's YouTube channel. Usually we have our data journalist Dylan with us, but he is not here today. So I am Kelly Kaufman. I am the engagement journalist at MuckRock, and we're kind of going to go over backgrounding political candidates for this election season and how to do so getting public records. So the link that I did share in the chat, I'm going to screen share right now so we can all see it. Feel free to put in your name, what you do, if there's anything that you're particularly looking at or looking for in terms of FOIA, any type of public records request, please let us know. And we're also happy to follow up on any other questions that you have. So again, I'm the engagement journalist at MuckRock, and as you can see in our agenda, I'm still waiting to hear from Mayor Bowser about the luxury box guest list. If you'd like to know more about that, happy to do so. Yes, Laura, if you have, it seems like you have a question. I just unmuted you.
Yeah, the agenda, it asks me to request access.
Oh, I am so sorry. Yes, I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Right. Sorry about that, everyone. I assumed that I did that beforehand. So we'll get anyone with a link should be able to not only view it, but we can update it here. And I will put it in the chat one more time. So everyone should be able to see it. And thank you, Laura, again, for your comment. So yeah, so I am, if you weren't here on a previous note, I had requested tickets for, available seats from the mayor's office in DC, where I am located. This is something that we copied over from the Baltimore Sun. They did something similar with their mayor, and this is one of the examples that we went through last week. So if we're moving on to FOIA in the news, we wanted to just share, kind of what we've been up to and some examples that you could use in your own work is Chris at MuckRock. He's a big jujitsu guy, so he decided to get the contract for the $1 million prize. The $1 million prize for a grappling event for jujitsu, and kind of where that money's coming from, what the contracts look like with the city, since the where it's being hosted is owned by the city, so it's very helpful. To kind of understanding city records, what kind of contracts you can get through FOIA. So we have this link right here that includes not only the event, but kind of an example that you can use for yourself if you're looking at, city contracts with private events, especially if they're owned by, like if any of the convention centers are owned by the city. So this is an example. So, and he actually was able to get this pretty quickly, which is very exciting, and just a great example of kind of FOIA in the news that you can use. And so we're kind of moving to the topic of the week. We're kind of looking at backgrounding candidates. So I also wanted to plug that if anyone's an IRE member planning to go to IRE, we will be there answering some questions. We will be also previewing some elections resources that will be available to journalists. So even if you're not able to attend, that's all right. We will be posting about that in the coming weeks. So please keep that at top of mind, especially if you are someone who is researching political candidates, whether they're incumbents, newcomers, what have you. We're really trying to make some resources about what kind of public records you can get when you're backgrounding candidates, or if you're just trying to get some more information about people who are running in either your local elections or, federal elections. This is kind of a great resource, but this is a kind of preview of what we're talking about here. in terms of background in candidates. Yes, and then Rachel, I do think we do have access to the Google Doc now, so you should be able to write your name down or access this on your own. And let me know if you need the link. I can follow up with you as well. So one thing that here at MuckRock we've been kind of looking into when it comes to political candidates is the Paycheck Protection Program. A lot of um, political candidates have applied previously during the pandemic for a PPP loan. This is something that is very helpful, particularly when a candidate may campaign as a small business owner or someone who sees themselves as a big business person. So, this is really helpful to see, have they taken out a PPP loan? What did they take it out for? And doing more investigative research on publicly available data. So this is something that we have some examples for, and we're kind of going to go through it of how you're able to find this publicly accessible data and how some reporters have done this to their benefit as well. So for the first example, we had a Florida politics reporter, Jacob Ogles. And then this is a bit of a previous cycle, but how a Republican candidate got a PPP loan and also purchased an Aston Martin and flew off to Europe using through some of the loans that he had. So if we were kind of clicking through this, this is a great resource of understanding how we can get these type of publicly available information and how he was able to pull the Paycheck Protection Program loan. And this is a great investigation if you want to kind of read through this and also see how you were able to use public records for your own research. And how do we do that? So there's no need to request this. So this is kind of the great thing about one of these resources is that for the PPP loans, it's already in a database. So it is openly available through the Small Business Administration. So this is a resource that you can have, but personally, I would recommend going through the Tracking PPP on ProPublica, which have basically gotten everything from the Small Business Administration and put it in a bit more of a searchable website. And you can see the loans that have been approved, the amount given, and you're able to look up individuals. So if we are doing something like like Jacob Ogles, that's not who we're looking for. So if we're looking at House candidate Jake Hoffman, we can be able to look him up very easily through the Paycheck Protection Program. So if we're searching, you can look through, and you might have to wait a little bit because it takes a second to respond, but you can be able to look at every company with approved federal loans. So it's really trying to find the company that they are associated with and how much is given. So there, as we're looking through, and this is all free, publicly available to anyone, and being able to just all you have to do is identify the company that they work for, and you'll be given a lot of information: the location, the loan status, the loan amount, the date approved. And even as we're going through, and this is not exactly the same example, but if we're looking at this person, they also have their own page of the money that they were given, the industry, the jobs reported, the business age, and most importantly, where the applicant said the money will go. And you see a few options here on the screen. A lot of it went for payroll for some of these businesses, as you can see here, but there's also mortgage interest, healthcare, rent, debt interest. So this is something, if you're looking at candidates who do say, or maybe are bragging about their particular businesses, this is something that you might want to look up that is very quickly accessible. I personally highly recommend going through ProPublica because they just make it a lot easier for you. And this is something that ProPublica's tools are excellent at. Also, if you're looking at nonprofits, also want to throw in the Nonprofit Explorer that ProPublica has as well, which is publicly available. So it's really making sure to make this easier on yourself as particularly a reporter or anyone who's just kind of curious about their own political candidate. So, and we're also, just as a little plug for ourselves, if there's any candidate you find that loan seems a little sketchy, or I've heard some things about this candidate, please let us know. We want us to kind of build our own database about what we know about these political candidates as we're kind of entering the election season. And, you can help us by submitting a business associated with the candidate, and we will also look into it. But I highly recommend this resource because you don't even have to file a FOIA request. And that's, even one less step for your list. But if we're also looking at political candidates, a lot of them will tout their military history if they're a veteran. And one of the best things is just to confirm this information through public records. So all requests for personnel documents are processed through the National Personnel Record Center. And if you are not next of kin, you can ask for their personnel file. So it'll include just really basic information about their military service, but is very helpful just even to confirm they did what they said. Because you can find that in the past, some political candidates have, manufactured their military history. And I think as, backgrounding a political candidate or just trying to confirm facts, it is very helpful. So what can you request? So the official personnel files is what you're looking for. And also, if you're part of MuckRock or if you're not part of MuckRock, we do have an example here in this document of how to request that with language that can help you file your own request. So I will warn you though, this has a varying response times. As you can see on MuckRock, we have an average of 305 days to get it. And while that might not be ideal, that is still helpful to others to know, confirm information. Some requests have been filled quicker, so it just depends on what you're requesting, who you're requesting. As you can see here, we have an example of a fulfilled request. So I think this is, completed a request. So if you're looking to request someone's file, this might be a great way to kind of mimic similar language if you are a part of MuckRock. And let us know, you can also clone requests, so you can use the same, but if you don't, you can still use this language for yourselves. You can still copy and paste it, so which is great. So whether or not you have a MuckRock account, we highly suggest you get one. We have a whole support team that can help you, but if you don't, that's okay. We have this information available for you. So you can see, you can get military records. So really what you need, more importantly, as you can see here, this is an old personnel file from the late 1800s, early 1900s, so which maybe makes it a bit of a quicker response time since it's not someone who's currently alive, but they need to know their name, where they're born, birth date, really as much information as possible, what they were assigned to, so they can get the right document. And as you can see, we've done also this with Coach K, who has a military record. So this is one that is also completed. So this is helpful for a current person. And this is very thoroughly done. So we really want to make sure when we're filing military requests, they're giving as much information as possible, because so there won't be any confusion about the military record that you're asking for, and that will hopefully speed up the process a little bit. So as you can see with Coach K, they've included their birth date, their full name, where they were born, where they attended, and also what records they include. So this person requested records for performance, job assessment, disciplinary records, training received, discharge papers, and any other releasable records. So when you're backgrounding candidates, this can be very helpful, particularly when you have candidates who are touting their military experience and, really trying to make sure it is reflective of the records that you can get. So this is something that we really recommend when we're looking at backgrounding candidates. This is something that does take a while, but we think it's worthwhile to do, since we've seen in the past and like in previous election cycles that some people have not been fully truthful about the type of records that you can do. So if we wanted to, and we can do a little step-by-step here, as if I'm logging into my MuckRock account, and you are able to clone. And if you have a MuckRock account, that's great. If you don't, you can still copy paste, like I said. But if you did have a MuckRock account, I just wanted to show you how you could clone a request for yourself. It's as simple as cloning a request. And if we're looking for a different person, if we're looking for an individual, we just need to update this information with that individual. But the agency will still be the same, since that is where you're getting your personnel records from. So it's also knowing exactly where we're requesting it, who we're requesting it from, and hopefully we will get a response back. So it really just depends. But we really recommend copying and cloning requests that have been completed, since it does seem like they had some success with that. And for the third thing to include when you're kind of backgrounding a candidate is, did that candidate vote in their own district recently, or have they voted in the last few cycles? So this is something that, you know, is very minor, but is something that you can request. Since the Help America Vote Act of 2002, all states are required to maintain a computerized statewide voter file. So it varies between states and their requirements and who is able to request the list, and how much the file, like how much information the file contains and how much it costs to receive it. But we do have this summary of access. So if you just kind of want to look at the varied requirements in your state, this is a great way to look at, you know, have they changed party affiliation? Have they voted even recently? And it's really about, when we're talking about background in candidates, it's not proving or disproving something, but it's really be able to create a statement of facts about a candidate. Since, you know, many people, when they're backgrounding candidates, have a lot to go through, this is just something that is accessible to you, and also knowing that you can request this. So, you know, also the National Conference of State Legislators provides a solid overview of what to expect in each state, and so does the Election Assistance Commission. So, you know, reviewing these documents, making sure that you are prepared and aware of what you're able to request, because it might be as simple as knowing, you know, getting just information of when they registered, but some states might have more publicly available information there. So, there have been other research efforts how to document data sharing practices across the country. So you can see who voted. So this is also showing what kind of public access you have to election records. So when we've worked with partners like Sunlight Search, this is definitely part of our essential public records that we'd like to look at, whether it's PPP, voter lists, just being able to kind of background and get as much information publicly available from our candidates and what we're able to get. So this is just kind of a quick overview of some top line things that we can request. So just moving on. So, you know, as here's a great example, like Ron DeSantis here leans into his military service, and he's touting his time in the military. So then that's a great example of something that you can clone, if particularly if you're covering Florida politics. This is a great one of just being able to confirm, didn't he spend the time in the military as he said he did? And so that's a great one we can tailor. So the Coach K1 is a great example of how we can tailor this. And also feel free to, if you have any questions about, you know, backgrounding candidates, FOIAs that you can request, whether they're individuals, you know, running for office, not running for office. I just, you know, want to make sure that we're answering all your questions. I know I'm going through things a little quickly, but we have these great resources available to anyone to, you know, be able to request really basic information about political candidates, but we want to make sure that, you know, they are being they're being researched properly and being able to get the information that we need. So and feel free to drop any questions, because either after this session, if you have a particular question or if you have any ideas of public requests, because we will answer them here as well. So we got through our last session feedback from Lucy saying she has a roadblock with the government agencies being hostile and unwilling to negotiate a request. Could use advice on how to handle? So unfortunately, this is a issue that a lot of people face, especially given, a particular agency might be more difficult to deal with, knowing what you are able to request or not, but they can still cause various roadblocks, whether it's a high fee or just saying they refuse to. And so we just want to kind of go over how to deal with a FOIA roadblock, because I find a lot of times, even in my own life, when I'm doing FOIA requests, when you get this kind of roadblock, you want to ask, what do I do? Like you almost just like kind of want to give up, but it is your right for public rights access and knowing what you should do. So, first and foremost, we say be gentle but persistent. You can save kind of the little more aggressive tactics for a little later, but we think that just starting out a little bit on the easier end, because it is maybe just one person at that agency who handles public records requests. We found that, there can be an entire agency and one person completely overloaded. So we said, maybe just start being gentle. And next, why we say that is because we want to get this FOIA officer on the phone or maybe find them in person. Why? Because I think in most times it's a lot easier to kind of negotiate or explain your position to a person either face to face or just even on the phone. A lot of journalists have mentioned, in their public records access is building a relationship with a FOIA officer will only make your life easier, particularly if it's in an agency that you will be requesting a lot from. It just, a personal connection or just humanizing the other person on the phone can go a long way. And we also have advice from veteran reporter and editor Julia Angwin, who says, like we said, try to build relationships, find other people in the agency who are more responsive, and then keep an eye on strategies that work for you and the FOIA officer. So it takes a lot more time to build these relationships, but if you're someone in a particular line of work that you're really trying to request often, and you will be requesting often, or this is a very important piece of a public record that you want released, really try, because oftentimes we've found, and we've seen in particular um, reports, I'm sorry, that a lot of these people are overloaded. FOIA requests are a lot, and there's very little resources sometimes these government agencies put towards FOIAs, which include staffing. So it's sometimes not this person's particular fault, they are under-resourced or understaffed a lot of times. So we find that trying to build a relationship with this person can go a long way. And I at MuckRock, we love David Coulier. He's from the Breckner Center, and we really recommend listening to all his tips because he's a pro. Whether, if you've ever, signed up for their newsletter or anything, there's a lot of information there. He is a top line expert on FOIA requests, and he loves filing FOIA requests. He says, dude, like once a week, when I saw him at NICAR. So really recommend listening to his advice and his art of access. So he says, get inside the mind of a FOIA officer, try to understand bureaucratic culture, identify agency constraints, and help them help you. So this may be, when they said help them help you, that could easily be, maybe narrowing your request. So maybe they can get some of the records to you and then you can file another request later, just seeing what kind of constraints this person has and how this is able to kind of work in your favor. Because we found a lot of times that either requests go unanswered or take longer when the timeline of records that you're requesting is a bit longer, maybe thinking like, oh, is it worth withdrawing that, shortening the timeline, just seeing what you can get, and just being able to, really understand their perspective of why they've rejected that. Because sometimes it can just be workload. It's not necessarily a nefarious thing of them, going through a roadblock with a government agency. But on the other hand, sometimes that happens, unfortunately. Unfortunately, there are some agencies that, as much as you try to, work with the FOIA officer, you're still getting these roadblocks. And you know that you can, and you more than likely not are allowed to get public access to this. So what do? This is now thinking about doing appeals and litigations. And what if you're ever in that point, what we recommend is on MuckRock, we do have an appeal section. So where I will find that for us all, because appeal language is something that's not necessarily inherent to many of us. So it's a bit difficult to, write your own appeal, understanding kind of fee categories, how are we appealing this? And here at MuckRock, we always try to make sure to have publicly available information about about each individual state. So that's also the first thing that we need to know. So what I recommend is this is available to anyone who, it doesn't matter if you have a MuckRock account or not, is understanding how open your government is. So I'm just going to drop this here. So when we're dealing with roadblocks, here is, and we've done this for you, based on our MuckRock requests of average response time for each state, kind of, is there a fixed time an agency needs to respond? Which states allow, that block out of state requesters, which has happened in Louisiana very recently. So let's just look at, and while you're here, you can pick any state. So as you see me hovering over this, you'll be able to pick any of these. So let's just click on Massachusetts. So when we're here, you have an entire public records guide to this state. And on the right, you see recently completed requests. So you can have an idea of what's been done in your state. And we have one for each state. So, and also the federal agencies, which I will show you after this. So it's also understanding if we're having roadblocks, like, is there a specific, what are the specific laws for Massachusetts? Do we understand, what their response time is? What does it apply to? Does it apply to the judiciary? Does it apply to the executive branch? In state, out of state? This page will give you all this information. And we also have supplemental material that has open meeting law regulations. So that's, what is an open meeting, what you have access to, court records, any kind of updated laws, as you can see, and also the preservation and destruction of documents of records. So this will really give you a lot of details about what a specific state allows and does not allow when it comes to public records. And we even have, an FAQ here, who's exempted, who does it apply to? So, if you're really, struggling, or if you're like, you know what, I know this applies to a specific agency. Why? Because I looked up on this page. So, and this gives you some great examples that it says like how they can be submitted. Can you do it by email, mail, verbally? And it will give you some examples here. So we can go through this a little bit more, but just know that if you have a question, it can probably be here. And then also, if you are facing an issue with a particular FOIA request, we do also have resources for transparency organizations. So in Massachusetts, it's the New England First Amendment Coalition. So that is a great resource of being like, hey, I can't get this public records request. But we also have attorneys and law firms if it gets to that point where you need to take it to the next step. And we also try to update successful appeals. So you could see the Secretary of State office posts appeals and their outcomes on their website. But, we try to help you as much as we can to understanding that you may face a roadblock with a FOIA, and there are resources and there is information that you can access. And I also want to go back really quickly. So we have Massachusetts here, but we also have the federal agencies, which is very common to be requesting. And we just have the United States Public Records Guide. So this will also show what has been requested on MuckRock, what has been completed, rejected, average response time. Obviously, you can see the average response time is 284 days, but that's obviously the aggregate of all federal agencies. So some take longer than others. And you can see the top agencies here. Oftentimes on MuckRock, you also see the FBI and CIA and are kind of our top requested, which I think also probably skews the average response time. But if you are looking for, and this is also helpful for, backgrounding political candidates, particularly if they are, have worked in any of these departments, this is accessible to you. And so you can just see what's been done, what's been requested. And you can also see the appeals that are awaiting response here. So, and also I do want to highlight that some of these guides are here and under more links and resources. So when you are going through FOIA requests, please feel free. We have a lot of publicly available resources when you are filing FOIA requests, when you are trying to get more information here. So, and we do have a whole section about the anatomy of an appeal, basics for an appeal here, and we have documentation available. But if you are finding any, roadblocks or anything, please let us know. Or if you have any success stories, also let us know, either at news@muckrock.com or kelly@muckrock.com. We're happy to hear any kind of success stories, but also if you're trying to work through an issue, we want to be able to help you. And this is really something that we want to help support you through either roadblocks or, it can be anything you want, but want to make sure that you have access to this. And I also want to make sure that, for anyone attending, this is about our third or fourth session. So if you hadn't seen up here at the top, all of our sessions will be available on YouTube. We had a whole session talking about appeals. We went through many records requests. So if there's anything that you're particularly looking for, also recommend looking there. But I just want to make sure that I'm going to check any questions. Doesn't look like there's any questions, but please feel free to, work through things, be able to search through MuckRock if you're looking for FOIA requests. And because we all have, questions like, how do I write this? How do I do that? And MuckRock is really available for you to be able to, that's why we encourage cloning requests. That's why we encourage, copying requests, because, we know what's successful or not. So, I'll even show mine of my recent request for the mayor's suite. And I do want to plug the Baltimore Sun for doing something similar as well. As you can tell, I requested this in March. But this is, and I was able to find this because this was publicly available on their site up until like 2019. So the mayor's office had been posting the list of ticket recipients for these stadiums, including the event name, the attendee, and any other notes. So I'm only asking for the past 2 years. And a lot of this, the requested documents we've made available to the public and still awaiting acknowledgement. This is something that we found with the mayor's office in DC. The Baltimore Sun luckily did not face a similar issue, but just remembering the types of requests that you can make, of what's able to, what can turn into a story, what can just turn into just something interesting, and that should be publicly available. So I will see if there's anyone else, but if you don't have any immediate questions, we do have a feedback form. That's at the bottom of this document right here. But also if you want to ask me personally, I'm kelly@muckrock.com again. And if you have questions, you want to be able to maybe meet in person at IRE, or just want to be able to chat through some public records requests, please let me know. I am happy to help. I also run our newsletter, so if there's any good FOIA finds that you find, please send them to me. I'm happy to share any great success stories. Let's see, I will stop sharing here, but I just want to say thank you so much for everyone attending. And good luck with your FOIA requests. And if there's any other questions, please feel free to drop them in. But again, let me know if there's any issues or any ideas that you have for FOIA requests. Thank you so much for attending, everyone. And if there's anything else, please let me know. I can stay on, but if not, I hope you go. Yeah, yes. All right. Hi, Laura. I think, okay. I think you're unmuted.
I don't think I asked a question. Maybe I didn't take my hand down.
Oh,
Sorry.
no problem. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, and then we have, all right, I think we have one more. See if you raise your hand.
Hi there.
Hey.
Thanks again for doing this. It's very, very helpful. I'm an editor at the Journals Network, which is an organization that works with supporting environmental journalists, primarily in the Global South. And we do a lot of work with, well, we work all around the world, but one of the issues that we often face is not being familiar with public records request laws and specificity. But I've encountered the GIJN with a list of if non-nationals, where non-nationals can apply uh, for records. And in the specific case, I would like to make an application for records request in Taiwan, which apparently it is legal to do so. But I'm not, I didn't see a dashboard or any sort of, public facing platform that allows me to do this in the same way that obviously we, generally have either through MuckRock or the agencies themselves in the US. So I don't know if you have any tips or any suggestions on how to navigate that. Obviously, I don't speak Chinese, which of course is a big obstacle, but apart from that, if there's any, suggestions just generally about things like that, where you don't see an actual, like I said, publicly facing.
Yeah.
Um,
And so you're looking to request public records in Taiwan, is that correct?
yeah. I mean, it's essentially assisting. Actually, it's more complicated than that. It's actually a journalist in Belize
Yep.
hoping to access that, and I'm trying to help as much as I can in facilitating that. But yeah, that's basically.
Yeah. I'd like you to, if you can, email me after this. I'd like to kind of go over this a little bit more, but there are similar organizations to MuckRock. We only do the United States, but there are essentially MuckRock versions in other countries. Germany is a big one for that. So we should be able to get you someone connected. We can look into Taiwan, but because I know that it's usually run by other people, and obviously people from Taiwan are probably running that, but I know that's popular in Canada and France and Germany are just some of the ones. So there should be separate organizations that can help you with that and be able to do that. So maybe that's something that we can look into, but I do know that other MuckRock type of organizations exist in other countries.
Great. Okay, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I'll be in touch.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for your question. Yeah, so I would just say, yeah, for anyone looking kind of out of the country, there are other MuckRock organizations that we have partnered with. So I don't know particularly Taiwan, but I do know that. So that's definitely something that you can also look into. So that is public records exist everywhere, and that's definitely something that we can work on. And also, just to answer your question, if there's any other countries that you're looking at, or if there's anything that particular interest to you, just let us know, because we do try to stay connected to the global transparency community. So I think that's it. And again, thank you all so much for attending and spending your Friday with us. And again, also, if you are a reporter Or if you are working on this, we definitely recommend to have create a MuckRock account, and we can help you out with anything. And I'm happy to answer any other questions offline as well. All right. Thank you and happy Friday.